Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Chalk Talk here in the DK Pittsburgh Sports Steelers YouTube channel. Chris Halicke here. Gonna go over something kind of simple today. Not gonna go too far into detail. Yesterday's Chalk Talk was all about explaining coverages. That video was more than 30 minutes long, so we're gonna keep it more on the brief side today. Keep your attention a little bit better. So we kind of touched on it for just a second just because of the play that ended up happening whenever I was explaining it, but that got me thinking about when you hear about a quarterback throwing with anticipation, what does that look like? Why is it important? Some of you may already kind of know this, and that's fine, but some people might not, which is the whole point of making this video. So we're going to look at two different examples of what anticipation looks like for two different types of throws. One outside the numbers, one over the middle of the field, and then another play that kind of shows it's a completion, but kind of shows the importance of anticipation. So let's get into this. First play here. Steelers are lined up in a 3-by-1. Got three on this side right there. Then you have the running back, obviously, in the backfield. The throw right here is going to Pickens, and he's running an out route, pretty deep one. And Fields, he hits his back foot, he throws, complete pass. I mean, that's, first off, he's standing at the 15-yard line, and that ball is caught at the 41. That's a good throw. That's got some air yards. That's pretty far downfield. But what does anticipation look like? Well, obviously the quarterback, when he, does his drop back, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5-step drop out of shotgun. So this is definitely going downfield. Now, when a quarterback hits his back foot, there are a number of plays, and it's all taught differently. There are general rules, but with certain routes, it's back foot and immediate release. Then there's back foot, hitch, then release. Like it depends on the concept, depends on the route, depends on how it's being taught with that particular team. Here, Fields, it's back foot, and then this little move that he does right there is called a hitch, because if it's back foot throw, he literally will just begin his throwing motion as soon as the back foot hits, drive off of that back foot to make the throw. This comes with a hitch, which is when you kind of shift up a little bit, and then you begin the throwing motion. Now, watch. One of the things you always look at, some people look at, well, what does it look like when the ball's coming out? Ball's coming out there, and Pickens is just getting out of his break. Oh, that's good. It's actually when the quarterback begins his throwing motion, when he separates the ball from his other hand. That's the beginning of the throwing motion. That is, I am about to start throwing the football. Where is the receiver at that point? And this is why it's important. He starts throwing, there. Pickens is not out of his route yet. He is just now starting to kind of go into his break and then get out of it. And this goes to show why. Watch the defender. That movement right there, that's a posture you never want to be in. And look at where Justin's throwing motion is. Justin's about to get rid of the football already. That is what anticipation does. Anticipation gives you the biggest possible opening for this type of a throw that there's no substitution for it. This defender, unless he just immediately assumes what the receiver's doing and can just run with him. The ball's been out for, by the time the defender really recovers, which is right there, and he can actually start running, the ball has already been out for a while. And Justin's got a strong arm. Let's try to find the ball in the air. I mean, it's already 5 yards past where he threw it. There's no chance. There's no chance for the defender to actually get over there. By the way, number 2 for the Broncos. Number 2 for the Broncos is a pretty good player there. Oh man, that's actually really, really funny when you think about it. That's Pat Surtain, by the way. Just won Defensive Player of the Year last year. Pretty good player. And that's what you have to do to beat really good players. You have to be able to do the fundamental things the right way. And he did. So, good stuff there. Let's go on to the next play here. Actually, let's get through that. But yeah, that's what anticipation looks like on an outside throw. All right, next play. We actually went over, for those of you who watched the explained coverages video yesterday. Really appreciate that. That was a long one. We used the same play on it to explain cover 4. This right here, that's your cover 4. Patterson was going to go in motion. He's going to go downfield. Freiermuth is going to run this little kind of run to the middle of the field and stop. Pickens is running this kind of little quick out, and then Austin's running this wrap, like right there. So that's the play that the Steelers are running. And why anticipation is so important here is because of what is going to be happening with this defender and this defender. Now, this defender is reading the number 1 on this side. And, because he has to respect it, because if he goes downfield, he has to respect that. But if he doesn't go into his zone, he has to kind of pass him off, especially if he knows that there's going to be a defender right there. Because cover 4 is a zone defense with man principles. So when Austin runs this little wrap, as soon as he begins to make that wrap, I mean, he's essentially passing him off. He thinks that he's got him. Or maybe this safety will come down and get him. Somebody's going to get him. There's 1 or 2 guys because, again, if this route were to go here, then he would latch on and run with him. But because he's running this little wrap right there, he passes him off. Now, again, let's look at Justin's throwing motion and look at where Austin is whenever he begins his throwing motion. Going really slow. He starts to pat the ball there. Ball is separated. Austin is still, if you were to look into this window right here, Austin is still covered up. This defender is still very, very much in the way. And this is what anticipation is. Anticipation is about throwing to where the receiver is going to be, not where the receiver is whenever you're throwing the football. You have to trust what your eyes are telling you, which if Justin sees this, and the Steelers did a great job in this game of exploiting cover 4, knowing that the Chargers were a middle field open, cover 2, cover 4 defense. You have to trust what your eyes are telling you. Fields is seeing this. He sees, okay, this is likely going to be cover 4, knowing that I know my number 1 is running a little wrap here. I know my number 2 is doing this, but the safety is not just going to run with him or run downhill because it's George Pickens. You got 2 deep threats right here. One of these 2 guys can go deep. And this safety almost has to play over the top. Almost like this is actually cover 6. It's not played cover 6 because it's cover 6, by the way, split the field in half, is you're playing cover 4 on this side and then you're playing cover 2 on this side. That's what cover 6 is, for those of you who don't know. Because of this wrap here, this safety is going to play off because you don't know what Pickens is doing and there's not enough time to react. But again, it's where's the receiver? Throwing motion is beginning. The ball is starting to get separated there. Receiver's not open yet. But by the time the ball actually comes out, He's open. There's a nice little window there, and we'll look at the end zone angle of this. And the funny thing about this angle is that you can't really see Austin whenever he begins his throwing motion. Back foot hits. Throwing motion is beginning. The ball is going to end up going about right there. Right in this spot right there. That's where the ball is going. Receiver's nowhere close. Receiver's nowhere close. And then, oh, look at that. Right there. Perfect pass. Perfect anticipation. It's a great job. It really is. It's a phenomenal job by Justin Fields. All right, so here is an example of maybe holding onto the ball a little bit too long. Now, again, this pass gets completed, but it could be better. It could be better. So, again, back foot, hitch, then throw. You got like a double hitch going on there, and then you throw. There's not a lot of 1, 2, 3 step drops. There's not a lot of 3-step double hitch, then throw. There's just not. Now, you're probably looking to see what's going on here with this route. Which, honestly, if that's what you're reading, you got a one-on-one on this side because the safety crashed down on this receiver. And even before, like that safety right there is never looking at the running back here. Now, granted, I'm not saying always throw a wheel route to your running back, but that is a one-on-one. Anyway, so let's get to why this is important here. Okay, back foot. Okay, you're not throwing off your back foot here. And actually, let's diagnose the play real quick so you can see. This is a mesh concept, so you're getting this guy running this way, this guy running this way. It's a mesh concept. If it's man, then their respective man will run with them. If it's zone, then depending on how it's taught, you might get, if it's zone defense, instead of continuing to run, if it's zone, you will actually run and then kind of stop where a window is, depending on how it's taught. And you can see that both Austin and Freiermuth do the same thing. They both kind of stop. But what this is going to do, even in zone defense, is that it's going to widen this throwing window. It's just going to naturally. You should also know that. This throwing window, okay, this guy's thinking at this point, he's in my zone, but I see him running away. And I see this guy running toward my zone, so I'm going to stay put. And this guy's thinking the same thing. So by the time that each of them go into their zones, it's going to naturally widen this throwing window. You have to trust that as a quarterback. It doesn't look good whenever the play is developing. Whenever you get to right here, this window does not look like it's about to be open. It just doesn't. But then, because, again, look at the eyes of the defenders. He sees, okay, this guy's coming this way. This guy's looking this way. He sees Austin coming in this direction. All right, those linebackers are smart enough. They're running mesh right now. So I'm going to pass. I mean, you can even see like the hand here by the defender. I'm passing him off to go here. 50 is now knowing I'm taking this guy right here. And 13 is now knowing, because this is mesh, I'm taking this guy. So by the time that each of them know they're going to be picking up their guy, look at the size of that throwing window now. That's huge. That is a massive throwing window. And you're like, all right, well, Justin's throwing through a really, really, well, look how quickly that window closes. And why that window closes is that he waits until, because this throw comes out a little bit later, The defender watching the quarterback, you can see his helmet stripe is looking right at the quarterback. He has time to then see where the quarterback's looking while he's starting to make his throwing motion and react on it. And it's not like he almost gets a hand on it, but that window gets a lot tighter than it needs to be. Plus, Van Jefferson has that safety right on his back. So it's not an open throw either. I mean, it's open enough for sure. And because Justin's got a really good arm, he can fire a bullet there and get it to Van. But what if he doesn't double hitch here? What if it's just 3 steps hitch throw? In the amount of time it takes, that's the first hitch. If the throwing motion begins here, the ball's starting to already come out in anticipation for that window to open up. But instead, look at when he actually begins his throwing motion. It's there. No, it's there. Right here. That's when he's waiting for the window to open. And because of that, that gives the defenders more time to react. If this ball comes out there, look at what this defender is doing at this point. He's still moving in this direction, which means that this window is going to remain open because there won't be enough time for him to be already moving in this way and then react and try to get back over. It's impossible. Yeah, you can't go against a direction you're already moving in. You have to take the time to stop and then go. So again, this ends up working out because, well, when you have a really good arm, it can bail you out. But how often are you going to allow that to happen? Again, I'm not. This sounds like I'm nitpicking, but I'm just trying to show you an example of even sometimes whenever a pass is completed, sometimes it's a lot harder than it needs to be. And this is a good example of that. This could have come out a little bit faster. Could have made everything. And honestly, Van might have been able to get some extra yards if he didn't have that safety right over the top of him whenever he caught it. So, good throw from Justin because he's got a rocket for an arm and he can fire it in there. But what if a quarterback doesn't have a rocket arm? You know, what if he's got a good arm? And which, by the way, that's Will Howard. For those of you excited about the Steelers drafting Will Howard, this is who Will Howard is. Will Howard is not this elite arm type who has a cannon who can just fire a fastball. He's got a good arm. Don't get me wrong. He can put some zip behind the ball, but it's not a cannon. So you have to be able to trust your eyes and trust what the play is going to develop into. You have to be at this point right here and trust that this window is going to be open. Again, it's not where you have to almost picture what the play is going to look like 1 second ahead when you're throwing the football, much like he did whenever he threw to Calvin Austin. Austin was not open whenever he began to throw the football, but here, Van's not open. This defender's in the way. This window's muddied up because the receivers are in the way, and this defender's right there. This window is not open right now. But by the time, in just a split second, it's wide open. That's what you have to trust. So that's what anticipation looks like, ladies and gentlemen, and sometimes the lack of it. It's not always, again, you're not always going to get into trouble because of it, but you can get into trouble. And that's why whenever you're evaluating college quarterbacks and they're consistently completing passes with a lack of anticipation, that's why you begin to wonder about how well their game is going to translate to the NFL level, because you can get away with that in college when the defenders like linebackers and safeties and cornerbacks are all slower and they don't react as quickly. You get to the NFL, they react pretty quickly and they're pretty fast. Those windows are going to get a lot tighter, a lot faster. You have to be able to throw with anticipation. So that's why this is so important. Anyway, appreciate you guys tuning in. Hope this helped when it came to that. So if you ever hear, again, watching the game on Sundays and you hear the analysts say, man, he threw that ball with great anticipation, this is what we're talking about. This is what's being talked about. So Appreciate you guys tuning in. Catch you guys tomorrow. See you later.